Hey, we're still talking.
Here we go.
Wait, is it going live? I'm on our YouTube stream.
It's working.
You sure?
Yep,
Oh, yeah.
I can see us. Yeah, they can hear us too. They can hear us too.
They can hear us.
Hear us in the thingy chat.
Yeah. Okay, so we should talk then.
We don't know what we're doing. This makes us look so unprofessional. Oh dear. Where's Jesse when we need him, eh? XboxEra is about to enter its 5th year, and that's all thanks to you. If you're new here, let me fill you in. XboxEra is a platform for the Xbox community with best-in-class forums, a kick-ass Discord server, and of course XboxEra.com, chock full of the latest news, reviews and more, all focused on your favourite platform, Xbox. It's every Xbox fan's gateway to the best of XboxEra. Our incredible podcast listened to in over 50 countries across the planet, our own digital store for games and codes, our merch store for the coolest of Xbox threads, and of course Day One, where you can track, rate and discuss your favourite games on Xbox Game Pass. XboxEra is built for you, and it's completely funded by you. If you value having a publication truly focused on your preferred place to play, you can support us directly via Patreon. Just head to patreon.com/XboxEra. You get cool swag and awesome perks, and we get to keep doing what we do. Become a part of the best Xbox community on the internet and help us build the next 5 years of XboxEra. Thank you for your support. Imagine a team of executive producers whose brilliance radiates through everything they touch. With a visionary approach and unparalleled dedication, they transform mere ideas and dreams into a reality that captivates people across the world. Their meticulous attention to detail, combined with an unwavering commitment to excellence, sets them apart as true titans of the XboxEra Patreon. With each new endeavor, they push the boundaries of our creativity and innovation, leaving an indelible mark on the landscape of the XboxEra project. These extraordinary executive producers are the driving force behind some of the most iconic and unforgettable moments in XboxEra, their legacy destined to inspire generations to come. To all our executive producers, we thank you. You are fucking awesome. Hello, friends, and welcome to possibly the most unprofessional episode we're ever going to do because Jesse's out and we're really suffering right now. We're producing this all on StreamYard. I say we, Nick is. Welcome to episode 203 of the XboxEra podcast. We're here to talk about all the latest in gaming. We're focused on your favorite platform, Xbox. If you love what we do, you can support us directly by heading to patreon.com/XboxEra. As always, I'm joined by Special Nick.
What's going on?
This is a fun journey for us.
Yeah.
But it's all good. Even though Jesse's out, honestly, so lazy. We're joined by a very special guest, someone that I think Nick has been trying to persuade to come on for a while, right? Particularly once you started playing Disney Illusion. Like, I know you've had ambitions to get someone from Dlala on. We've got Grant Allen here from Dlala Studios. Hello, and he's from my neck of the woods.
I'm here to make everything as professional as possible, obviously.
Yeah. No, I had reached out to Dalala, the Twitter account, a while back, and I think they just didn't see the DM for ages. They were like, yeah, cool, we'd love to hop on, but they just hadn't seen the DM. And then as soon as they saw it, mate, it happened very, very quickly. It was good. Thanks for jumping on, Grant.
That's no worries.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. Thank you for joining us, especially, you're in my neck of the woods, so this is quite late for us. So we're a little bit earlier than we'd normally be. There's daylight savings in the US. But as always, I don't know if you've ever watched the show before. I won't judge you if you haven't. Game development is a time-consuming task, so no judgment. But we normally talk a little bit about the video games we've been playing, and then if it's all right with you, Grant, we'd love to dive into a little bit about you, a little bit about Dlala, what it's been like to work with Rare, with Disney, all of these fun things that we could talk about this week, if that's cool with you.
Yeah, sounds good.
Excellent.
I will say, do you prefer I keep my Aussie accent with Grant, or would you rather I go Grant?
Grant?
Oh, yeah.
Or would you rather I go Grant?
No, keep your accent. Yeah, keep your accent. Okay. Fine.
Aussies just go Grant.
Makes me sound posh when you say Grant.
Grant. Because Aussies say Grant as well, but I just say Grant. Hey, Grant.
It's a bit American, that inflection, Grant.
You reckon?
It's an American. Yeah, it's a very American sound.
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit. Aussies can do both.
I know, you guys can live in both worlds quite merrily. But in your heart, you swear like troopers, so you're Brits as far as I'm concerned. Right. So, okay, on that topic then, welcome to the chat. Nice to see everyone. Prepare for bloopers this week. Did you see me crack up when we briefly appeared between?
I didn't realize I should have started that other video like a second or two before the other one finished.
Oh, that's going to be great. It's going to be a fun show. All right, well then, look, let's start off. And Grant, we'll come to you as our guest for today. And I recognise, as I said, game development often eats up a lot of time, right? But have you had the opportunity of late to play anything? Is there anything that's taken up time that you're enjoying lately? What have you been dabbling in?
So recently, I've gone back to Death's Door. I've been playing recently. Yeah,
great game.
Yeah, very just how stylish it is. I love. I've been playing a bit of Death's Door. I've been playing the original Final Fantasy VII as well. The
OG Final Fantasy VII.
The original.
Yeah, I've been playing that, which is I have no idea how I played it as a kid because I have to switch on the, you can switch on the interactive elements and exit UIs. Yeah. Because I play it now and I'm I can't figure out where I'm meant to go on this static art screen. So I've been playing that. And then I've been playing a lot of Pokemon Pinball as well.
That's a thing.
Yeah, on the
Pokemon Pinball.
Yeah.
Not a Nintendo kid, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah,
you may have guessed. Is there anything special? Or is it just pinball with Pokemon branding? Help me out here.
Well, it's kind of it's pinball, but essentially you can kind of shoot because it's not pinballs you fire, it's Pokeballs. And you can get those into certain slots, and they have a catch mechanic to be able to hit certain bumpers and whatnot a certain amount of times, and then you can actually hit the Pokemon appears on the board, and you can catch it with the ball that you're pinging around, and then you can kind of move to different areas. It's one of those games where I pick it up and I can literally play it for a minute to 5 minutes, and similar to that, I've been playing Pokemon Puzzle League, which I haven't touched for decades.
Wow.
Which is basically just a really, really simple swapping tiles puzzle game. But it's just trying to find games that kind of respect the amount of time that I have at that point to play it.
Yeah.
I totally get it. Yeah.
Can you remind me, is Pokemon Pinball the one that had the funny cartridge with the extra stuff? I think I had that for a while.
You have to had to beg my mum when the battery ran out to get me a new battery for that.
It was for the Rumble, wasn't it?
Yeah, for the Rumble.
Yes, yes, I thought so. I used to have that as a kid. I liked it. It was good.
Great game.
So I say this, the games that are quick pick up, play for X amount of time, where it's not I often complain about it. I think Nick not so much because he's a big Fortnite fan, so he's used to games as a service. But often for me nowadays, when I play video games, it's like, oh, it's another one that wants me to log in every day and do this activity X, Y, and Z, and it starts becoming like a job, and I start to get annoyed with it, and then I bounce off of it because I just don't, especially in the industry we're in, like there's always the next game you have to have a look at to cover or whatever the case. I don't have time to commit. So do you find yourself like, I just need something I can dabble in rather than deep dive for hours and hours and hours?
A lot of the time, and sometimes there'll be something in particular which catches my attention. So for the past few months, I've been diving in and out of the first Yakuza Like a Dragon. I've been diving in and out of that. Thoroughly enjoying it, thoroughly enjoying the storyline. I jumped into that because I saw Infinite Wealth was being released, and I really loved the combat mechanics. And then I jumped into the first one, and I was like, this doesn't have the movement between the moves. It controls the movement for me. I'm still playing it and enjoying it, but I'm kind of like pushing myself to get through it so I can play the next one kind of thing.
Well, I think my mate Robin has just, I think he pinged me the other day, he's done after 110 hours of gameplay. I was like, I finished it. I'm like, wow.
Jesus.
I just can't commit that kind of time to a game nowadays. It's really rare.
Yeah, I have dabbled in Fortnite though. I have to admit, I have dabbled.
The latest season?
Oh no. I think it's when there was the first kickoff, and then it was just like, oh yeah, this is great. Played it for a few days, thought it was fantastic, and then all these kids that were much younger than me, who didn't have jobs, who spent all day playing it, and I'd go,
sweats as they're called in the biz.
The tryhards.
My 8-year-old said to me the other day, he goes, Baba, do you think I'm a sweat at Fortnite? I was like, nah, buddy. I was like, you're not even as good as me, and I'm not a sweat. I'm not good at Fortnite.
Wow, it's so cute.
He's obsessed with it.
It's a funny one. You mentioned in little games. Have you tried Balatro yet, Grant?
Oh, boy.
Oh, is that the card game one?
Yes.
No, I've seen it. I've seen tweets and online about it.
Mate,
it's gonna be in the game of the year conversation, without a shadow of a doubt. It's an impeccable piece of game design.
Our reviews editor, we may as well talk about it because I've still been playing the crap out of it.
Yeah, same.
Our reviews editor gave it a 10 out of 10, which I constantly clash heads with Jesse about that because I don't like. It's not that I don't like 10 out of 10. Maybe I'm just a bit old school in that. I feel 10 out of 10 should be reserved for generational, truly special games. Maybe that's just the old school part of me. And Jesse alluded to the idea that he was giving Balatro a 10. I'm like, man, come on, dude. I'm like, it's a card game. I'm like, it can't be a 10 out of 10. Anyway, I got a code for Balatro and I started playing it. And at the start, it wasn't quite clicking. So if it doesn't click with you straight away, don't fret. And then I tried it again a couple of days later and sort of sunk in a little bit, and then it just clicked. And once that click happens, that's it. Life is over. All you play is Balatro. That's just it. It's so
the announcement that it's coming to iOS and Android at some point soon. I'm like, oh no. Because
I bought it on Switch to have it on the go.
Yeah.
And then they're like, coming to iOS. I'm like, oh God.
Oh no.
It's going to be everywhere with me.
Yeah, it is an incredibly clever little game. And it's funny, like from a game design perspective, this is a guy who doesn't care for roguelikes and doesn't know how to play poker, who made
He plays Rocket League. He plays Rocket League.
And Halo and Call of Duty, and he's made this
like
roguelike poker game. And it's like, wait, what? It's bizarre. But
great
ideas can come from anywhere. It's incredible.
Yeah.
There's an interview for folks watching. If you've been playing Balatro, there's an interview with the developer live on XboxEra.com at the moment. Go and have a gander.
Yes, and that's where I read that he plays Rocket League, because Rocket League is like my game. That's all I play is Rocket League, like 90% of the time. I just adore Rocket League. And then I read that Local Thunk plays Rocket League. He's sinking hours into Rocket League. I'm like, bro, this guy is too good. It's great. But I have been playing Rocket League and I have been playing Fortnite. Current Fortnite season's really cool with the Greek mythology stuff. There's like Mount Olympus there, and there's the underworld, and there's 4 bosses. There's like Hades, Ares, Zeus, and I don't know who the 4th one is because I haven't fought them yet. But it's great. It's the best season they've had since the Marvel one, I reckon. I'm loving it.
It's absolutely like hats off to them, the amount that they update that and the amount that they constantly like adding new stuff to it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And meaningful stuff. Like it's nuts. And I mean, I guess that's the luxury of Epic being who they are, being so big and having so many resources. Like they basically use Fortnite as their test bed effectively for gameplay mechanics and visual tricks and, fiddling with Unreal Engine. Like it's
very smart.
A luxury that they've afforded themselves with the success of Fortnite. Like the latest season, you can get Zeus's lightning bolts, and like the mechanics on those lightning bolts, you full on jump in the air, throw lightning bolts. You've got Icarus wings that you can fly around with. Like it almost to the naked eye makes Fortnite look unrecognizable. But it's crazy the way they experiment in there as developers. Like it's nuts, unbelievable stuff.
Yeah, there's one of our YouTube members is like, how many developers are on Fortnite's team? And it's like, I have no idea. Hundreds, I would imagine.
It would have to be heaps. That's what's generating most of Epic's money outside of Unreal Engine licensing, surely. It must be heaps of them.
So it's just like I mean, you've been dabbling in Final Fantasy VII OG. Is that to prep for the eventual desire to play the 2 remakes in some fashion?
So I played the first remake and absolutely fell in love with it. I loved what they did with it. There was this constant in my evenings I was playing it, and my fiance would be sat there and like stuff would happen, and I'd be like, I don't want to spoil anything for anyone who hasn't played it yet, but certain points in the story stuff happened, and I was like, but that wasn't in the original. That's not the original's not like that. And she would just sit there. She does play games, but she's not like a
gamer.
She's not a massive nerd like me.
I empathize. I was thinking that what you're describing sounds like hundreds of Halo fans watching the TV show at the moment. This isn't how it's supposed to go. Yeah,
but it was exciting to see that, because it was just there's, again, I don't want to spoil anything, but like how they ended that one leading into this new one, which has just come out, and it's just, I don't know if it would have felt as awesome to me if they had stuck to the OG kind of everything that the OG one did. I mean, I love the OG one, like I love it with a passion. 7 and 8 for me are absolutely fantastic. I played 16. I absolutely loved that. I feel like I like that a lot because I'm a bit biased because I like Game of Thrones, and I felt the story was very Game of Thrones. And
I think that's a lot of people have said that about 16, that it felt like the idea was definitely concocted towards the tail end of Game of Thrones' hype cycle, and dev times are dev times.
And I'm a little bit biased as well because Alice, my fiance, her cousin Jonathan, is the voice of Joshua.
Oh wow!
Oh wow!
So like
small world.
And he didn't tell anyone in the family like about that. And then all of a sudden, I was talking to his parents, and they're like, "Oh yeah, John's in a game. Like, I can't remember what it's called." And then when I saw him, and he was like, "Oh, Final Fantasy," I was like, "What?"
Oh wow!
And his performance in it. I mean, all the characters is just fantastic, and it really sucked me in the story for that game, and just kind of again what they were doing, and they do with a lot of Final Fantasies, where they kind of shift kind of the not so much the narrative, but like if you look compared 7 to 9, for example, 9 went very much back to kind of like the class systems and whatnot, and that kind of more whimsical aspect of the world and stuff, and they constantly shift that, and 16 just stood out massively for me. It probably, once I finished it, actually, I'll tell you an interesting story about it. So AJ, the CEO of Dalala, we were both playing it at the same time, and I completed it, and he was like, "Oh, have you done any of the side quests?" And I was like, "No, I was really enjoying the story. I just went through. I was going around just making sure I could get through the story because I wanted to know what was going on." And I was like, "No, I haven't done any of them." He goes, "So you don't have the chocobo?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he was like, "There's a side quest where you get a chocobo, and like the chocobo runs fast and stuff like that." And I was like, "No,
the chicken bird looking thing, ostrich thing."
Yeah, and I was like, "No." So I'd spent, like, I spoke to Mark, our IT director, as well, because there's parts in that game where you're running across deserts for like minutes.
Oh, no.
And he was like, "Did you not get the chocobo? It was super quick when you're on a chocobo, you know." And I was like, "No, I've been." It's like, no wonder it took me so long to complete the fucking game. I was walking on my feet. Like, so I went back and as soon as they mentioned that, I went back and I was like, "Yeah, I'll do the side quests." And I didn't know what was going on, and I was like, "I'll go to the first side quest, see what that is." First side quest, I get a chocobo. If I when that first one came up,
no.
But yeah, I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I've gone through and I've done all the side quests now, and I haven't touched the DLC stuff that they've released, but thoroughly enjoyed that Final Fantasy. I realised I've gone on a massive tangent about.
It's okay. This is the show
No,
for tangents, my friend. You're all
fine.
good.
Is that actually your AJ in the chat?
I'm assuming, yeah, because he calls me, yeah.
Called you an absolute donk. I'm like, hold on, is that AJ?
Yeah.
What's interesting, right? Like, I did my research right before you came on. So, as you said, AJ's the founder, and I'm going to segue nicely because you brought him up. So, this is what I know. You keep me honest here, because how long have you been with Dlala? Since inception, or more recently?
So, unofficially, unofficially meaning I didn't have a contract that I signed. It was pretty much
AJ's like cool HR
during. Okay, AJ, I'm HR today. But it unofficially around before the inception, I think.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and then essentially, I'd done some artwork for AJ for a mobile game called because I went to university and I'd done a BA honours in graphics media, specialising in letterpress, which I thought, this would be really. I'll get a job having letterpress.
Yeah.
And then
that's my plans.
Yeah, and so I kind of left that, and I enjoyed illustration as well, but I kind of left university and just went straight into retail jobs. So I was just doing the retail jobs during the day, and then during the evenings and weekends, me and AJ would chat, and I would sketch up kind of this artwork for this game called Yes, We Have Bananas, which will never see the light of day. But
it's still tagged on the Twitter account, on your Twitter account, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And essentially, you were just controlling a monkey, and you had to collect bananas, and bombs were dropping and stuff. And then so I started working on that kind of stuff. And then AJ went off, and he already knew Craig at that point, and kind of they started thinking about the studio and setting up the studio. And then it was probably about a year or two after. I mean, me and AJ have been friends before that anyway, but essentially then AJ was like, "Oh, do you want to go for a breakfast meeting?" And I was like, "Free food, yes." So I went.
Why wouldn't you?
And so went for this breakfast meeting, and AJ was just like, "Look, I'm in a position where I can actually hire you as a concept artist originally." And I was like, "Perfect." He was like, "This is how much that I can offer you," and I went, "How's about this?" And he was like, he was like, "Okay." And then I joined officially. So officially, I've been there 10 years. The next January next year would be 10 years that
Yeah,
I've been at the
because
studio.
from what I read,
so
it was
officially
founded in
2014.
2012.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And AJ and Craig Thomas, they were friends at Jagex, I think, which were the devs behind RuneScape. Is that right?
Yeah, so they were working on a Facebook game when one of the first, I'm going to use terminology wrong here, but it was the first PvP Facebook game called Monster Mind. Which was like a city builder, and monsters would come and you'd destroy other people's cities with monsters. And then, oh no, that was Bossa. Sorry, they met at Bossa. Then AJ left, and then when AJ left, he said to Craig, "Oh, if you're still enjoying this in if you're not enjoying this in 6 months, call me."
Let's just do something.
They then kind of went over to Bossa. That's when the RuneScape thing happened. RuneScape they were working on RuneScape in space. I think I don't think that came out. I'm not sure. And then basically similar thing happened. AJ went, said the same thing to Craig, and then they decided actually let's do something for ourselves. They literally had no money. They didn't know what they were going to make. They moved into their parents' garages, and essentially, after a freak conversation that happened between AJ and Microsoft at Develop Conference in Brighton, I think AJ probably tells the story better, but I think AJ saw Microsoft was there and was like, "Why are you here? You don't care about indies at that point." And this was a very long time ago. And then through that conversation, conversation started happening, and then essentially we, as a studio, got contracted to make a Windows 8 launch title, which was called Janksy.
Yeah. Windows 8. So Microsoft at this point were like, how do we get people to develop stuff for our app store? Let's pay people to do it, and boom, you get contracted gig. Why not?
Wow.
Yeah, and then that was pretty good, and then essentially AJ and Craig were asked to have an interview for it doesn't exist now, but Develop magazine. At the time, they were told, "We'll have an interview, have a small article in there." They ended up meeting up with the interviewer, chatting for like the whole day. All of a sudden, their front page, they then have these 4 or 5 pages about discussions that they had, and then Lee Schuerman saw it. I probably said his name wrong there. And then essentially he was like, "Hey, Microsoft is setting up these studios in London. We want to incubate
This was
people."
Lyft, wasn't it?
Yeah, Lyft, yeah. And then they essentially then was like, "Cool, awesome." Went to Lyft, then was able to kind of hire in a few more people. And that's when kind of Chris Rickett came, who is our principal programmer now, and Ben Waring, who is our CTO. And then done a year or so there, kind of developing different kind of ideas for games. And then eventually, same thing happened with AJ and Craig, where they were just like, "I don't know if this is really for us anymore." AJ and Craig made it so that all the other guys could kind of keep their jobs there if they wanted to in Lyft. After having that discussion with them, they were just like, "Nah, fuck that, we'll come with you." So they all left again and went back to kind of garages. And then I kind of started getting back involved again at that point. I wasn't hired, but started chatting because we started developing what then became Overruled, which is like a 2D 2D kind of brawler with you change the rules kind of as you go. So it could be combat, it could be capture the flag, it could be someone's on fire. And then we showed that about like a month or two later at I think it was EGX or EGX Resd.
The ones that Eurogamer put on.
Yeah, I think so. And then luck so happens to have it that Team 17 were there. Team 17 saw it, and then we got that game signed with Team 17. And then Overruled came out. And then God, what happened then?
I think there was some amphibian-based partnership with Microsoft for some old IP or something that you guys did next. Like, how did that come about?
Oh, oh yes, I think you mean Battletoads.
Is that game?
Yeah. So yeah, in between that, we done. I will get to Battletoads, but in between kind of that process, we had a good relationship with Team 17, and we done work with them on Schrodinger's Cat, The Escapists, and then so AJ has always wanted to do something with Battletoads. He's a massive fan of Battletoads. Ever since kind of AJ has known Craig Duncan, the studio head. He's always constantly been like, when are you going to give me Battletoads? When are you going to give me Battletoads?
Wow.
And
determined.
Then, and essentially, I think we must have had about like 4 or 5 different pitches for Battletoads. And you know, and this was during the period of when we was doing other stuff as well, like for Team 17 and that. Like AJ's always, you know, we always constantly yearly think about kind of the games that we want to make and the IPs potentially that we might want to use, and we're always kind of doing pitch decks and stuff. Yeah. So we've always kind of every so often been pitching Battletoads, and it just kind of hasn't. It kind of wasn't the right time, I think, is the best way of wording it. And then it just so happened that the time that it was right happened when it did. And we had always been working on we're massive fans of 2D animation. So we actually kind of build our own tools on top of Unity that we use. So kind of Craig Duncan had seen kind of some of the work that we had done with the 2D side of stuff and hand-drawn animation. And then he was like, I think AJ found out that we were doing Battletoads because Craig Duncan messaged him randomly at like 2 or 3 in the morning because I think Craig was in America, and it was just like Battletoads is go, and that's all the message said.
Oh wow!
So
the
AJ
must have been real for AJ at that point after years of chasing for it.
Yeah, so like AJ doesn't sleep anyway, so you can imagine AJ like looked at his phone at 2 in the morning, and all it said was Battletoads is a go, and then Craig Duncan has gone into another like 6 hours of meeting, so AJ is trying to like message him, and then essentially, from that point we had about 2 weeks to make a reveal trailer, which was the first one where the hoverbike kind of runs into the wall from the turbo tunnel, and then from that point it was go with Battletoads, really.
Wow. What was that process like? Because, you know, I think from developers we've spoken to before and you know, the generation of different IP, you know, as you guys were just going through that history there, you've bounced from helping other developers with some projects like The Escapists, you mentioned, working on your own stuff as a team, to then be handed, you know, an IP that AJ and the team clearly wanted to take and wrestle, but to work with a studio like Rare on that. And I as I understand it, Rare, and keep me honest here, were involved, but not in development. They were kind of like in just helping test at the end or something to that effect. Like, feel free to correct me wherever I might be going wrong. But was that nerve-wracking at all to kind of take on an IP that was kind of like always been joked about coming back, maybe not, and seeing Phil wearing the t-shirt? Like, how did that go?
I think to put it eloquently, I think we were shitting ourselves. So I think, yeah, it's such like an iconic. It's such an they were such iconic games, and it was the combination of how iconic they were, and then how long it had been since anything had been done with them, and both of those was like that was massive pressure. And we wanted to make sure that whatever we did, it did justice to those characters and to the old games, but also we'd done it in a way that only we could do it. So that's kind of why, you know, we leant heavily on the 2D animation style. It's why, like, one of the pillars when we first pitched it was it's a playable cartoon. It should feel as if you're watching a Saturday morning cartoon when you're playing it. And, you know, as well as looking at the old games, and we never wanted to make Battletoads arcade. We never wanted it to be purely kind of beat 'em up. You know, we always wanted to have an homage back to kind of the original game where there was that mix mash of kind of genres.
Yeah.
And, you know, I come from my childhood. I don't know if you've ever played it, but I used to play a lot of a game called Bishi Bashi Special Edition.
Can't say I've played that one.
Cool.
No.
So Bishi Bashi Special Edition was wait a second. Do I have it? I'm just digging through drawers right now. 2 seconds. I do have it. So Bishi Bashi Special Edition was a port onto the PS1 of a collection. Here we go. So this is brilliant job on the
blurring.
The blur.
Bashi.
If I move it, how's it blurring it when it's
it's blurring it.
Ooh.
There it is. Oh, there it is.
Ooh.
Bishi Bashi.
Cool. So it was a port of arcade games from Japan. So essentially, it is a game which is just made up of 100 different mini games.
Wow.
And it's all got this really amazing kind of artwork, and each of the games have different artwork. And I just loved that feeling of, you know, these quick mini games that could kind of cut in and out of kind of the combat, like the brawling aspect of Battletoads. And that was kind of like one of the things in my head. I was like, we have these characters that are anthropomorphic toads. It's stupid. They're you know, they're stupid. They're knockoff turtles, except there's 3 of them instead of 4, right? But it was just almost like they should be put in these weird situations, and we should get them to do these weird things. I remember when we started working on Menial Jobs, which is the first mini game after the first combat section, where you end up like massaging an alien, and Zitz is just working in an office, and Rash is essentially just handing over bits of paper to Captain Bones from Sea of Thieves. And I remember we were sat there, and I was writing this all down. I was like, yeah, so then Pimple's just going to be massaged, and make sure there's like non-sexual groanings from the alien every time you push these buttons. And then the next thing I know, I'm sat there in front of Craig Duncan in the Rare head offices, and I'm like
trying to explain yourself.
Well, we're just playing it, and he's looking at it with all the art in it. And I'm just like, yeah, so basically you're just massaging an alien at this point, and there's just like noises. And it was so great because, like, you know, as you mentioned before about like how involved Rare was, it was great because they kind of gave us the freedom to kind of explore these characters and explore what we wanted to do with them from a gameplay perspective. But they were great to have that kind of pillar of making sure, is it right for now, and also does it respect the past of what Battletoads was. So like the turbo bike tunnel,
infamous.
So I solely designed that on the new Battletoads, and it went through about, I kid you not, 60 iterations.
Wow.
Because I made it. Craig came down to the studio, he played it, he was sat there, he just turned and looked at me, and he went, it's too hard. And I was like, okay. I was like, it's too hard. Okay, redo it. A few months
but that's
later.
The homage, isn't it? Isn't it meant to be balls hard?
And then he sat down 2 or 3 months later, and he played it again, and he just looked at me and went, it's too hard. And I was like, okay. So and we went through this process, and he was 100% right, because if I was to put out there the original version that we made, no one would have finished it. Like, the only reason I could finish it is because I designed it and put all the numbers in. But it was like, it was balls to the wall hard.
Wow.
And I would love to put that out. I don't know how we would do it now, but like
DLC.
Yeah, and
bonus content.
And I just and that comes, it's the homage, but also like new players. If you're thinking about getting new players in to play this, and that's the third level, you know, you're doing exactly what the original did then. And like, you know, past that point, that game's absolutely fantastic, but 90% of players didn't fucking get past the turbo tunnel. So it's like, you know, we wanted to make sure that, yes, it might be tricky, but, you know, players can still make their way through it. But yeah, the whole process of making Battletoads was fantastic. You know, getting to be able to work with, you know, some awesome writers, the writer Tom, who worked on Rick and Morty, and just being able to like make it feel like that Saturday morning cartoon that we did. And I'm super surprised like the ration-filled diaper got through. But like somehow that managed to get through, because there was lots of stuff which couldn't. Like, obviously, you know, the guy wrote for Rick and Morty, and we're trying to make something which is, you know, appealing.
Dial it down.
But no, it was an absolutely fantastic process. It was so mentally draining, though, because I think we had 12 different genres that we were trying to account for in that game. And, you know, the kind of time frame that we had and this kind of development process, it was very much like, you know, we know this is the game type we want, and we have this specified amount of time to do it if we want to make sure we release. So it was very like, it was a very hectic development cycle, Battletoads. But, you know, Rare was super supportive of it. Everyone in the studio was loving what they were doing. You know, one of the things after about, I think 2 or 3 months, there was just a piece of paper that was stuck on the studio wall that just said, "Does it make you say stupid game?" And it was like, if you laugh and you say this is stupid, it probably should go in, kind of thing. But yeah, it was a very frantic development process, but it was very enjoyable. And there's so many like lessons learned, just kind of from our perspective as a studio as well, knowing kind of how much we can get done within a certain time, the processes that we should go through from pre-production to production. And yeah, it was hectic, but I very much enjoyed it.
That's gross. I love stories like that.
Yeah, and Nick's a big brawler fan, right? You grew up on Streets of Rage and stuff like that. So
I mean, I actually, do you know what? I think if we were to make a sequel, hypothetically, I think we probably, you know, I think we would still have the randomness and stuff and the random mini games and that, but I think, you know, listening to the fans and, you know, the feedback and what fans say is super important. I think we probably would approach it with more brawler aspects, because I think people enjoyed that. And, you know, I think from our part as a studio, we'd never made a side-scrolling brawler before. So when we looked at it, we was like, you know, we want the brawling to feel good and have homage, but equally, what kind of fighting games do we like? Or like combat games. And, you know, Devil May Cry was a really big thing when Bayonetta, and it was like that fluidity, and that's kind of where the tongue got involved, and like using the tongue to kind of bounce
the juggling and stuff.
And, you know, if it, like I said, hypothetically, I think if we did make a sequel to it, Battletoads 2, The Toadening, that we would we would probably focus, you know, a little bit more on the brawling aspects. And, you know, I think it's safe to say kind of the third act had a little bit too much back and forth between the platforming and the space combat, and we could probably have used some more brawling in there. But I can't even remember what I was replying to then, what the question.
Yeah, I think you covered all the bases. It was a general, like, what was it like to bring an IP that had so many fans of its silliness and its time back from the dead? And it sounds like it was a passion project for AJ, and that passion probably infected the rest of the team too, right? Like,
oh yeah,
to pick up someone else's work and like, okay, we're going to bring this back in a fun way.
How much of the team was behind the cartoon aspect, like as in the cutscenes that were just like watching a cartoon?
So we have a partner that we work with that has a studio which essentially does all that kind of 2D animation side of stuff, but internally all the kind of character designs and whatnot is done from our side. We had Lucy who worked on it, and Mike Dietz worked on it for the kind of character designs for the Toads. And it's we basically have a very good relationship. I've completely forgot the name of the studio now. You put me on the spot.
Someone was having a lot of fun with those cutscenes.
Oh yeah,
There was some
100%
very humorous stuff in those cutscenes there in between.
Yes, I think you can tell, like, when people are working on something, particularly when it's animation style and it's not targeting kids, but it's an homage to kids. There's often a lot of winks to the grown-ups in the room, but still kind of playing within the boundaries of a kids cartoon, you know. You can have a lot of fun with that, and I think Battletoads weaved that quite well.
I saw Trev asked in the chat, because everyone knows I skip cutscenes. And Trev goes, "Did Nick actually watch the cutscenes?" I was like, "I did. I'd heard about the Saturday morning cartoon aspect of it. I was like, maybe I'll watch some of these cutscenes," and I did. And there was a lot of they almost reminded me of, and I have no idea who was inspired by what with those cutscenes, but there were elements of it that almost reminded me of Freakazoid.
Oh yeah, I love Freakazoid. Yeah.
I don't know how many people remember Freakazoid. That was around the time
new
of
to me.
Animaniacs as well.
Yeah.
And there was just some humor in there, and I was like, I wonder if anyone doing these cutscenes was a fan of Freakazoid, because there's a little bit of that flavor in there. At least I thought, anyway. AJ goes, even my wife skipped my cutscene, so I don't take it offense.
Yeah. So yeah, kind of the team wrote all of those. So AJ, working with writers, wrote those, and it was the external animators. I remembered it was Rumpus, the studio Rumpus, helped kind of like put all the cutscenes together. But yeah, I absolutely love the cutscenes in the game. I love. I actually got to voice some of the characters in the cutscenes.
Oh wow!
There's a scene where Zitz eats the fly and spits it back out. I voiced the dying fly, and and also the fly that tries to like resuscitate him.
Oh my god!
And then during the end cutscene, there's it's like they're celebrating the Battletoads and they're like TV interviewing characters, and there's this one dude who's this creepy tree stump with like a beard and stuff, and he goes, "Oh, I want to split Pimple's stumps," and that's me as well in the game.
Wow.
But yeah, like that's one of the benefits that I thoroughly enjoy making games. Is on the odd occasion it might be like, oh, we need some emotes or we need some voice work for this character. Because in Disney Illusion Island, I do all the emotes for the character Uncle Steve in that. So that's me who's like doing all the grunts and stuff like that when he's talking.
Yeah.
But
I've often wondered like what's entailed. I'd love to voice a video game character one day.
Be cool.
Like just for fun. Like even doing something really silly. Like it must be quite an experience to sit there and make grunting sounds. All right.
Yeah, it's usually like, okay, so we need one which is a sad grunt, and now we need one which is a really sad grunt, and then if you could just do like, an over ecstatic happiness kind of grunt, and it's like, surely I'm just making the same noise over and over again here. But no, it's super fun. I think I love the cutscenes in Battletoads. I think like
they're good.
The writing's really smart. if you do decide to watch them, anyone, the writing is really smart. AJ always gets a bit paranoid because we always make the joke when we were making Illusion Island. He like set up all the cutscenes in it, and we always used to make the joke that we just skip them. So the fact that actual people skip them makes me happy to annoy AJ.
I am
Nick is
notorious.
bad for it.
I am notorious for skipping cutscenes. I skipped every cutscene in Alan Wake 2, and it was still my game of the year last year.
He's not one for narratives. Let's put it that way.
I'm a very old school gamer. I came from the arcades, and I just want to play the game. But every once in a blue moon, I happen to actually catch quite a lot of them in Battletoads, only because I kept hearing about that Saturday morning cartoon aspect. So I'm like, I might watch one of some of these, and I did, and they were quite good. They're actually really good.
You've mentioned Illusion quite a couple of times. So this, and again, if we shouldn't talk about this, because I understand that Dlala did get the opportunity to work with Disney once before, but it kind of fell through, right? So this was like a second hurrah to work with them again on something new. So, I'm just trying to put the timeline to bed. Battletoads, I think, released in, I want to say 2020.
Yeah, 2020. Yeah.
I think 1 million players within a couple of months after launch, which is great, But then 2023, you released Illusion Island. Now, it's funny because if I rewind, Nick, keep me honest here, like 4 or 5 weeks maybe, you'd be like, I've been playing Illusion Island.
Yeah,
on my
it wasn't that long
Switch.
ago.
Yeah, it might have even been like 2 weeks ago.
No, it was more than that. But yes, I bought it on Switch roughly a month or two ago and just started playing it, and I was like, hey, I did not know this was a Metroidvania. This game is a full-blown Metroidvania. I was like, I'm in. Like, okay, I just thought I was buying a Disney platformer like the original Illusion Island. Castle of Illusion, and all those games. And when I first saw the trailer, I'm like, okay, so this is the Dlala flavor of Castle of Illusion and all that sort of stuff. At least that's how those initial Nintendo trailers, as in the direct trailers, that's the impression they gave. I honestly did not know it was a Metroidvania. And then I just
snuck that in there, didn't we?
Yeah, and I started playing it thinking, okay, this is a new version of Castle of Illusion. And I'm like, no, it's not at all. This is a full-blown proper Metroidvania. I was like, holy crap, this is really good. I was like, wow,
Thank you.
I really like it.
Yeah, so it's a really, really interesting one because we did, as you'd mentioned, we did have something with Disney going before. And, that got cancelled because Disney stopped being a publisher back in 2016. So there was no ill will at any of that. It's just the business of how things go. And then when we were making Battletoads, AJ is always thinking about the next thing. And, we were always thinking about what we wanted to do next and kind of, what are interesting IPs that we would potentially want to get our hands on. And then, the opportunity came out through our agent that, did we want to have a conversation with Disney again? Because, a lot of people have kind of shifted, moved in, moved out, and kind of their approach to how they were doing things was changing. And, we took that opportunity to speak to them again. It was a really interesting conversation because it wasn't very businessy. It was very casual, kind of, look, this is how things are now here. This is how things are here. They had a look at some of the 2D tooling that we had created for 2D animation. And yeah, it was kind of this really natural process where, Disney respect us for, what we create. And then equally, we're respecting Disney for kind of the IP and the history and, how important these characters are to literally everyone. And yeah, it just kind of, it was always going to be a Metroidvania, like kind of in my head. I remember the initial kind of conversations that me and AJ it was just after lockdown had kind of started easing, and you could actually go and see people. I would be going into the office to see AJ, and we would spend hours and hours just sat in that room putting post-it notes on the wall with all the different things and mechanics that we would want. What is the story that we're trying to tell here? And yeah, it was always in our heads like it was this Metroidvania, or as I like to say in interviews, a Mickeyvania. AJ calls me I believe AJ's called me on several occasions the godfather of Mickeyvania as well. I'm sure he can confirm that. But it was always this, it was always that in our heads. And it was always kind of, I love Metroidvanias. The one thing that I have an issue with when it comes to Metroidvanias, there is such like a steep learning curve to them, and it's almost like, not that they're gatekeeped, but it's almost like they're always really difficult. And like I fucking love Hollow Knight, but my god, I think I was saying this to you before we went live, I want to smash my head against a wall sometimes with Hollow Knight. And it was kind of just about, telling me it's and it was always kind of about, what are the things that we enjoy about Metroidvanias and how we introduce those to kind of a new audience. And I think you mentioned as well, like Nick, you said, oh, it's like baby's first Metroidvania, and I was like,
yeah, and I was saying that with all due respect. It wasn't in a disparaging way. As I was playing it, I'm like, okay, so this Metroidvania is obviously a Metroidvania for my 8-year-old son who's never touched a Metroidvania before.
Yeah, and that's the biggest compliment that you could give, right? Because that's from the lead designer. That's kind of how we wanted it to come across. It was just, introducing these concepts, introducing new people to the concept of Metroidvania, and what other Metroidvania could you give an 8-year-old? And then be able to pick it up, right?
I've tried to get my kid playing Ori and the Blind Forest,
no chance.
Wisps, and he'll get to like something, as soon as it's something mechanically tricky, just bounces right off. I can't do this. I haven't got the reflexes or the intuition. So yeah, totally understandable.
And that's what it was about. It was about introducing Metroidvania mechanics in a palatable way to introduce younger people to the genre, introduce people who maybe feel like, they haven't been able to dip their toes into that genre because of that kind of difficulty barrier that comes with it, and being able to tell like this interesting Disney story in this world that we were able to create. And it literally, the whole process was pretty much a dream for us. Like the relationship that we had with Disney, we would have, AJ would speak to them daily. I would have calls with their design liaison, and we would just talk through everything, always sending builds to each other. It was very open, and it was very, it sounds cheesy, but it was like chatting with friends when we were talking about it. It's like we both had this clear goal of what we wanted to achieve. And, it was just fantastic because they kind of gave us access to kind of all of the Disney archive to be able to check, like, well, we wanted to create a new version of Mickey Mouse. So they gave us all the information of all the Mickeys before. We had all the kind of character sheets, and that whole process and the pressure of creating our own versions of the Fab Four, right? Like, that was a fantastic process. We landed on, we described each of the characters as their movement is like a toy. So kind of like, Goofy's a slinky, Mickey is a bouncing ball, Minnie is a paper aeroplane, and Donald is a slingshot. And they all actually move at the exact same speed. Like mechanically, if you look at their numbers, they're all exactly the same.
Yeah.
But if you play as them, it feels as if they're moving differently just through their animations.
Yeah. So I'm playing as Donald at the moment, and he does feel different.
If you play as Goofy, you'll go, oh, he's slow. He runs slower. And it's like, he doesn't. It's exactly the same. It's just because of the fluid kind of like the way that he runs is it feels really like cool. That. And it was just fantastic. It was a bit of a dream. We got to work with Chris Painter, who's one of the lead narrative kind of Disney games, and he's like the most amazing person because he is like an encyclopedia of Disney. He's and you can have conversations with him, and he'll be able to reference different movies, reference like how it's done in different places, and making sure that when we are creating this story, that we're not just creating a story, we're creating a Mickey, Minnie, Donald, and Goofy story with this.
Yeah.
And and that was fantastic from our perspective because we got to create like a complete new world for them to explore, the world of Monoth. And it was such a breath of fresh air coming from the hecticness of Battletoads, and the confidence as a studio that we picked up, then moving on to this, and that drive that we had with Battletoads, and being able to, as I said, learn from that, and just kind of it made us better as a team, Battletoads, and then we kind of mastered ourselves as a team. I mean, there's always stuff to learn as a team, but kind of it felt like we got into a proper flow when we were making Illusion Island. And yeah, I just think like I'm really proud of one of the pillars that we had when we first started making the game. Was awesome alone, better together. So we always knew that we wanted it to be a co-op game as well, and we were kind of back and forth on kind of co-op mechanics. How should we do them? Like, how should the players interact with each other? And a lot of it, we looked at kind of homages. So we looked at the original Castle and World of Illusion. So, you get the rope drop. That's a massive callback to those games. And kind of it naturally fell into this situation where it was like, we never want anything that the player has to do in multiplayer to be critical to the path, because then you're kind of locking out certain areas of the game for certain people. And it was just about, well, who is this game for, and who do we want to play it? And it was like, well, we want younger people to play it. We want people with their families, with their brothers and sisters, mum and dads to play this. And it then came down to, okay, well, these need to be multiplayer easements. So if I'm playing with like a younger person and they can't make that jump, or if they can't jump that far a distance, or if they need a little bit of extra health, like it's these little mechanics we can put in that create their own little stories as people are playing them playing it with each other. So it's like, you remember those moments where your mate dropped a rope at that point because you couldn't reach there, or actually you saved time running through because that person went there, or shit, I've only got one heart left, quickly give me a hug before we kind of move on. And it was always about kind of creating these moments between players that not everyone's going to have the same experience, right? Because everyone's got a different skill set. Everyone's playing this in a slightly different way, but we can still have these interactions between the players that feel as if they're unique, and they're only interactions that you two can have because you're sat on the sofa next to each other, right? So they're very specific to the players, but yeah.
It's interesting. I haven't played it. I know Nick is playing it and has played it quite a bit. But there's no actual enemy combat here. This is teaching effectively.
I was about to say
Metroidvania platforming.
I was about to say that one of the biggest compliments I think I can pay to the game is that I actually didn't realize there was no combat. I was playing it for ages and barely even noticed that there was no combat in it until someone pointed it out. Like I think I mentioned that I was playing it. I was watching Jeff Grubb's podcast, and I mentioned on there, hey, if any of you guys played Disney's Illusion Island, and they were discussing it, and Mike mentioned how there's no combat, and I went, holy crap, there isn't any combat in it. I'm like, how did I not notice that?
Yeah.
So for me, that's like a compliment, the fact that I didn't even notice something that's been standard in Metroidvanias since forever, literally.
So that was the whole decision to do that was, so me and AJ, as we mentioned, we had kind of this room for the post-it notes, and one of the post-it notes was combat. And as we kind of got through the months and we were taking post-its off, throwing some in the bin, keeping some, every so often we would just come back to this post-it note and it would just have combat written on it. And every time we would look at it and go, why is that still up? And then one of us would go, because Metroidvanias always have combat.
Yeah.
They always have an element of combat in there. And we were like, okay. And we even got to the point where we started prototyping enemies where Mickey could bounce off of their heads, like Mario games. And we started doing it. And as we were creating this kind of list and designs of enemies, there was only about, I think out of the like 12 or 15 that we made, there was only like 3 of them where you could actually do anything. And again, it then came down to kind of thinking about like, what is the game that we're making? Who are these characters that the player are playing as? And does it make sense? And, Mickey's turning up in this world because he got invited to a picnic and, now he's trying to find the, tomes of knowledge. And it's like, it doesn't make sense that he would just roll up to this new world and start like,
murking people.
Yeah, like, like jumping on people and crashing their heads and stuff. And it was like, it just doesn't make sense. And, Disney were absolutely fantastic with like helping us figure this out. And like when eventually me and AJ turned around and was like, there's going to be 0 combat. They were like, okay. We showed them everything we did and we showed them the thought process and they just went, okay, that's absolutely fine. And even like the boss battles. So that was really interesting because from my perspective, that was almost like harking back to some of the original kind of Castle and World of Illusion games, and even just older games in general. And it sounds really silly and really basic, but it's just about challenging the player with their mastery of the moves that we've given them up to that point, right? So, it should just be you get to the point in the game when the first boss is, and we made sure the player knows how to jump, double jump, wall jump. So it just becomes a mastery of that, and in doing that, and interacting with the environment, the damage happens to the boss, and it just kind of felt natural. I think we even got to a point when we were developing where there was no combat in the game, but we still had you jumping on the boss's heads, and then like we sat there and we was just like, we need to figure it out and get rid of it because it just doesn't fit the vibe and what we're going for with the game. But that is a very big compliment that you didn't realize that.
It took me until Mike mentioned it on their podcast. I was like, I later sat back and I'm like, holy crap, there is no combat. How did I not notice that?
Yeah. So
I had no idea.
So we spent a lot of time because obviously because there's no combat, like you're moving the whole time, right? So making sure the movement was fluid and was fun, and you enjoyed yourself just traveling through this world was like a massive it was very, very important. So I remember kind of whenever during the beginning of the pre-production we done creative intent statements for everything. So for movement, me and AJ would work, and essentially a creative intent, we would give them an image. We'd show the team an image, and they would have a single sentence underneath it where if you show them the image, say the sentence, they understand the feeling of what we're trying to get across. And I think I'm going to try and reel this off the top of my head now. I think for movement, it was feel the free-flowing, fluid movement through a parkour playground. And we wanted it to feel as if you were a kid, and you were just running about, jumping off of stuff, feel very fluid and very enjoyable. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why you don't tend to miss combat, because you're using that movement to avoid the enemies, to kind of, and the other thing which was a consideration for us was in multiplayer, if you have these enemies, whoever's in front is going to be able to destroy that enemy, but what's the challenge for everyone else who's running behind? Like you kind of eliminate the fun in some instances by having it be the enemy be removable at that point. But yeah, it's again a massive compliment that you say.
I mean, it's awesome to me that like Dlala have got to work with two massive legendary IPs, right? In different scales, like Battletoads legendary within video games, but Disney and Mickey Mouse, I mean, you can't get
can't get
arguably much bigger, right? And, you know, from my perspective, I'm like, oh, they're only up the road. This team, it kind of blew my mind a little bit when I found out where you guys were. You know, and we're living in this industry now, and I'm sure you guys are aware of it. We look across, you know, we've seen all the layoffs this year. We've seen how studios are being shuttered, and, you know, the big corps, the big publishers are just yanking 700, 900 heads at a time. And it's been nice in some ways this week. We've seen like two or three new, I know they're AAA studios, etc., but there's always new studios being formed. I mean, even as you were talking about the history of Dlala and AJ and Craig Thomas, how they would come back and forth into projects and discover what they wanted to do and what they wanted to, you know, be. What's your viewpoint on the industry at the moment? Do you think that, because from my perspective, and perhaps it's helpful to lay that out, I'm more of an indie game fan than I am of the AAA behemoths. Like, I would rather play a million Cocoons or something like that than play Final Fantasy, as an example we were talking about earlier. Like night and day for me. I want short games that are concise and interesting and trying unique things versus homogenized, repeated exercises in looking the prettiest and being the prettiest and the biggest and the longest and all of that jazz. As indie devs, do you prefer living in that space? Like, I know there's a certain amount of stability to AAA, but are you proud to be an indie dev?
I'd say so. I think in terms of kind of like the games industry as a whole, I think like it needs to be better. It needs to be better, and equally, we need these indie studios, and we need studios that are creating these unique experiences. And, you know, there needs to be more of a highlight on that. I think like Xbox Games Pass does an absolutely fantastic job of, you know, getting smaller developers in and giving them the highlight that they need on there. But yeah, I think like I do enjoy being in this space where there is like, from an indie perspective, there is kind of I mean, we're always working with someone, so there's always kind of, you know, there is collaboration with kind of the, you know, Disney isn't a small, you know, small company, and I do like that, but I like working with partners where they allow us to have that kind of freedom to explore. And, you know, a lot of the time when we have this conversation with larger studios, when we're pitching and when we're, you know, showcasing kind of what we potentially would want to do, is we want to make sure that, so an interesting point here, sir, one of the pillars we had when we were pitching Illusion Island to Disney, the last pillar was authentically Disney, distinctly Dalala. And it was like, we always want to make sure that we are making a game that only we could make with that IP. So, you know, and having, I feel very, very lucky and appreciative that I am in the position where I do get to work and have that freedom to, you know, as a studio, we get to be able to express ourselves, and there's trust from these bigger companies to allow us to do that. And I think that needs to, you know, there needs to be more of that, right? There needs to be larger companies giving the smaller guys the opportunities, right? Because then you're getting these super interesting products that are coming out and interesting games. And I think, yeah, the industry needs to be better, and there needs to be more of that kind of support for the indie developers, I think.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like, I've lost count the number of times I've loaded up the next big game, and I'm just like, yeah, I've done all this. I have done all this in another form, in another shape, somewhere else before, and I just bounce off these things. But then every now and then I'll load up from a studio I've never heard of before, and I sit down and I play through something, and it does something I've not seen in a game, or it does something new, and I'm like, ooh, and then boom, it's over in 5 hours or something like that. But my God, that was a great 5 hours, you know. And that's the experience I'm always chasing nowadays in gaming, I think, for me.
I think I was on Games Pass, and I think it's called Go Mecha Ball Go.
yeah, the pinball game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great little
And I was just like, this is fucking great. It's like,
the audio music is like jarring as heck. I had to dip that down to 0, but yeah, it's
it's kind of like Sonic 3D, but the speed is at 200 plus you have a gun kind of thing. And I was just like, this is fantastic. But yeah, I think like the amount of times I sit there on Games Pass and I just go through all the games, and just again, I spoke about stuff earlier where it was like respecting how much time I have at that point to play it, but equally like yourself, like you're looking for stuff where it's like, oh, I haven't seen that done before. Like me and AJ are in the studio earlier, and we were scrolling through, and Incluminati.
Yep.
I don't know if you've seen that.
I have seen that.
Yeah, that came up, and I was like, holy fucking shit, this looks weird and great. Like, and I was interested and downloaded it straight away because I wanted to see what it was like, and I feel spoiled as a gamer as well at this point because there's so much out there, and you only have so little time, right? So
thank you.
But yeah, it's I can't remember what I was answering now.
Well, I will say it's something Nick's always said, right? About
I say it all the time. There's too many good games these days. There's too many good games. Like it's crazy the level we've got to. And it's funny, you were mentioning before about your style. Like the one thing I noticed going from Battletoads to Disney Illusion Island is that I will say, admittedly, I haven't played any of Dlala's games prior to Battletoads. But going from Battletoads to Disney, I realized straight away that you guys have clearly now established a signature, like a vibe in art style, in feel. Like, despite Battletoads being a beat 'em up and Illusion Island being a Metroidvania platformer, they both kind of feel mechanically very, very similar. They both have a very, very similar feel to them, despite being completely different genres.
That's very nice to hear. That's it.
Is it?
Again,
I wasn't sure if that was if you would hear that as a good thing or not. But
yeah, because that kind of that's a really nice compliment towards kind of the making sure it's something that only we could make, right? Because it's like you're seeing that connection, even if it's not from just a purely mechanical perspective. It's that feel, right? So I think that's a massive compliment, I think.
Yes, I like, and this is just me taking a stab in the dark now, but my assumption is that going forward, future Dlala projects. No. I'm not fishing at all. I already AJ's watching. I already tried off air AJ and it didn't work. My assumption is that future Dlala projects will have what I'm trying to say is that the second I see a trailer for this game, I won't need to see your logo at the front of it. Is what I'm saying. Like this signature style you have. I assume now will probably carry through most future projects to the point where you can instantly look at whatever this new game will be and go, yep, that's Dlala's next game, without even seeing your logo at the front.
I would like to think so, but I'd also like to think that as a studio, obviously we love 2D and we love the style that we create, but we definitely still want to be able to push ourselves. So from our perspective, like we've never really done anything that's 3D, but that's definitely like an avenue that we probably would want to look at and figuring out how stylistically our style would work with, how would that work in 3D, right? Like how would we do that? And I think we want to keep that style, but we also want to kind of push ourselves. Like we never made a brawler when we made Battletoads. We'd never really made a platformer or Metroidvania when we made that. So it's like, what is the next thing? What haven't we done and what can we do in this style? Like
Arcade Racer.
Oh.
Talk to Microsoft.
Maybe.
Now that they own it. AJ, I know you're there. Now talk to Microsoft and say,
Stop trying to bring back
Phil, You own Rock and Roll Racing now. Want us to bring it back? Mate,
Nick has been after
Rock
this
and Roll
for a
Racing.
long time. Like we've been doing the podcast for coming up on 5 years. I think Rock and Roll Racing gets mentioned on average once a month.
Man, that game, that game. We even have a friend, a developer friend of ours who, mate, he's already got the driving mechanics down pat in his little indie game that he made. Get him on board. He's
I don't think it's
already got it.
Nick.
Down
He's already leaving the show right now. It's not going to vibe. I'm sorry, bro.
Mate, Rock and Roll Racing. What a game. It was such a good game.
I think there's so many games though, isn't there, like that you think like deserve like some kind of modernization, like treatment, like, you know, I mean, there's a shit ton that I like, but no one's probably ever heard of them.
Try me.
Boku no Natsuyumi.
Yep, you're right.
Yeah.
Wrecked.
I obviously I don't want to. I don't want to go in
flexing there.
Like, go into it, but like it's by a director called Kazayabe, who his most recent games that he's done is the My Endless Summer Vacation Shin-chan ones. I don't know if you've seen those kind of. So he back in the like PS1 era, he had this game called Boku no Natsuyumi, and you played as a 14-year-old Japanese kid who gets taken to his auntie and uncle's for a summer. You get dropped off there. The game lasts for 30 days. You can do whatever you want for those 30 days. And it's all about exploration. Wow. You can catch bugs. You can go play with the animals. You can and these stories unlock as you go through. And it's almost like a very casual like game. And it's almost got elements of what Animal Crossing was like, you know, and it's this absolutely chill. And he actually, where is it? Sorry, I'm going through my pile of random games here. Oh, so this was the Shin-chan one.
Oh wow!
This is the Japanese version, and then this game recently got released, but there isn't a UK translation of it yet. Which is basically the same thing. He's just a master of these like casual holiday games, essentially. Sorry, I have a massive. If I was on Mastermind, my specialist subject would be random Japanese games that never came over. Or Digimon World. There you go. That's one everyone knows. They should remake Digimon World, the original. Yeah. Someone's heard about it in the chat. So.
Yeah. Someone said, I adore Boku no Natsuyume. So.
Salve's from Melbourne as well. See? Aussies, mate.
Small world.
But AJ, don't listen to him. Rock and Roll Racing.
Let it go, man. Let it go. All right, I'm conscious of time for Grant because, you know, being in the UK, it's just rocking up to 10:30 on a Saturday night. Last question on general game dev stuff. You talked about Game Pass and how, you know, we talked about how there's too many things nowadays, and it's almost like you go through that list. It's like paralyzed by choice. Like, what do I play? And then so many times I've had it like I do with like Netflix. What do I watch? I can't decide nothing. Do you think that, like you said it, I think, I don't want to, I'm paraphrasing your quote here, but like, can you imagine having this as a kid? Like, we've talked about it on the show before, the days of, right, I've saved up my money, I've got this game based just on the box art and just on this excerpt I've read in the magazine 3 months ago, and I'm totally taking a punt at it, and I have no idea if I'm going to like it or not, versus now, 400 games at the touch of a button. My son says to me, he's 10 years old, I'm bored. I'm like, are you kidding me? I've got nothing to play. Dude, like, you have no idea what it was like. Like, do you think that overall Game Pass and subscription services as they exist today have been a good thing for the industry, or are they pushing it into a place where it's a bit more difficult to be discovered? Tricky question. You're on the spot.
Yeah.
20 seconds.
I think it's a double-edged sword, I think, because, I think it's great to be able to give smaller developers that kind of limelight and to be able to put them in the forefront to be discoverable to people. but equally, it's like the developers have to work 10 times as hard to then be that choice when people
curated by the team that own Game Pass or the subscription service in question.
So it's kind of a double-edged sword. Like,
that's a good answer.
Yeah,
bit of both.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I love the fact that there are games that can exist in crazy niches that would never get touched nowadays. They would not succeed, but because it's on Game Pass and has access to whatever, or because it's on PlayStation Plus, X number of people are just going to be able to grab it. I love that exists and that world, and people can discover new genres that they didn't know they even liked. And I've had that myself. But I agree with you in that as this new world of game development continues and the way we consume games, at what point do these people almost become gatekeepers to success rather than assistants? Like if I'm on Game Pass, what's the point? Or if I'm not on PS Plus, why bother releasing? No one's going to see my game. I do wonder how close we are to that world.
And you have to think as well, like, I mean, I don't know the internals of how all of this works, but like I wonder how if you were like, oh, my game's going on Game Pass, it's releasing on this day. I wonder if you would know what else is releasing on that day. Like, imagine if you released and 20 other games released on that day, or like, do you know what I mean? Like, I wonder how.
No idea. Yeah.
From a business perspective, I wonder how that's. If anyone knows, then please do tell me. But like, I wonder how, from like a Games Pass perspective, they figure out what they're gonna put on what day and how many get released, kind of thing.
My assumption would be that there's some sort of account manager that says, hey, so we're going to have you lined up with X, Y, and Z. We think this is a good fit. This is the day. That would be my assumption. But, I did an interview with some indie devs, and you'll be able to read it next week on XboxEra.com. I can't say any more than that because it's totally embargoed, but shh. But they were like, yeah, our game got finished because we signed a Game Pass deal. Like we were able to get over the finish line and get it here because of this deal. And when I hear stories like that, I'm also like, okay, that's cool. Like this gets to exist now. Great. But you're right. It's a double-edged sword, and it's going to be interesting watching this industry develop, considering what we've seen go on this year, where it's all going to end up. But fascinating stuff. I'm really looking forward to what you guys are making next. Like, I'm curious because you're going to be working on something. Shh. AJ said he's always watching. Always watching.
I tried and failed miserably, AJ. I tried and failed miserably.
I'll go peeking through the windows. What are you working on? All right. Well, we're at the point in the show. So, again, and Grant, if you haven't heard, I know that Jesse has prepped you, right? So, you're willing to host this. Yes. Feel free to put as much quiz show bravado into the show as you can. Go ham. Utilize those voice acting skills and all the grunts that you learned how to do to really go full welly with this. We're going to do Name a Game. And I'll explain the rules once Nick's pressed this button to do this little animation. He's not ready. I was trying to empty him up. This is why we need Jesse back.
Okay.
Come back,
I'll push the button now. I'll
push the button. All right. So, Name a Game. The premise is relatively simple, and hopefully Jesse's explained it to you. Every week, we, Nick and I, battle it out against each other as champions for our patrons. So, XboxEra is completely community supported. So, we're I think the second largest independent Xbox, leaning coverage studio out there. Like that's pretty good for a team that have been doing it mostly for free. But our patrons are everything to us. So every week we try and have a little fun, and one of those patrons gets to win a game from our extensive list of codes, which is always nice. Nick, who are we playing for this week?
Who are we playing for? Oh, God, did I even put it in there?
Did you even put it in there?
Yeah. Hold on. Let me get it. See, here I was thinking I'd prepared myself properly, and then I forget that one thing.
Keep you on your toes, mate.
Yes. I'm getting it out now.
While you're doing that, while you're doing that,
Go.
the premise of the game is simple, Grant. Jesse has given you a theme and a list of games where the original names have been replaced with synonyms. So Nick and I have to try and figure out what game name you're trying to tell us using these clues. Let's see how we do.
Yes.
Who are we playing for, Nick? I presume you're ready.
We
now.
are playing for. So I am playing for Hugh, who also lives nearby. He lives right near.
I saw this on the
and
forums.
Grant. Yes.
Ooh.
He lives like 10
and-
minutes from here.
Yes, and you are playing for Cameron Jones.
Cool. Let's go.
Yes. So now we're not using buzz in today.
Just gonna old school it.
So we're gonna old school it where we just shout out our names. So if we blow out the mic a little bit, I apologize. It is not our intention to hurt your ears.
So Grant, hoping this all goes well for you and you're comfortable.
Oh,
What's
yes.
the theme this week?
So the theme for Name a Game is beat 'em ups.
Ooh, I see what Jesse did there.
All right. Okay,
Beat 'em ups.
let's go. First to 3 wins.
Yep.
So our fake name is Concluding Content.
Nick.
Go, Nick.
Oh no, hold on. concluding content.
Content, yes.
I was going to say Final Fight.
That is correct.
Oh,
I was going to say Final Fight. So, content. Fight?
Why did Jesse say content for fight?
I don't make the rules, guys.
Yeah, no, you don't, and that's
It's
why
a
I
point.
said, why did
It's a
Jesse
point to
use
Nick.
fight for content? Okay,
Maybe
I
he
bet you
read-
it was a typo. Contest. I bet you he typoed it, and it was meant to be contest.
Yeah,
That would make more sense. Yeah.
Yes.
fair.
Yep. Okay. Next.
All right, Nick. 1 point to Nick.
Yep.
The next fake name is
Yes.
Gleaming Tomahawk.
Nick.
Oh, God,
Nick.
Golden Axe.
That is correct.
This is not
This
my
is
genre. I'm like a second behind you. God damn it! I'm gonna get wrecked, chat. I am gonna get wrecked this round.
Yeah, he is.
All right. Next up.
Cool. So I'm just going to quickly listen to how to pronounce this word.
Oh no, I want to hear you just ad lib this and see if you succeed.
Cool. Okay. So the next fake name is The Killed His Wife and Her Friend and Got Away with It Colonnade. I'll repeat that again.
Oh my god.
The Killed His Wife and Her Friend and Got Away with It Colonnade.
I kind of can put the words together, so I'm just going to go for it and then I'll probably give it to you, Nick. But it's going to be the OJ. I'm going to say parade. I don't even know what this is.
That's not what I'm looking for.
It's not what he's looking for. Does
Nick,
that help you?
Nick.
Go on.
Nick?
The Simpsons arcade game.
That is correct.
Nice. There you go.
We won, Hugh. We won.
I'm glad. I'm glad a fellow Essex native won name a game.
We won.
Well played.
Now, Grant,
Yes.
it's up to you if you want to keep going with the rest of, because usually we just play through the rest of them just for fun anyway. But if you
No,
are
we'll
happy
do
to,
them, yeah. We'll do them.
yeah, okay,
See if I can redeem myself in any way, shape, or form this week.
okay.
Cool. This word, I definitely.
What's he done?
Okay, that's how you pronounce it. Cool. So, the next fake name is Twin Wyverns.
John,
Nick.
I got that.
No
I
way.
got that.
Me.
Chat.
I said it before I even heard you
I
say
said it
it.
before I heard it. So before I heard you.
Oh, bullshit. Well, it's up to
You've already won. It's Double Dragon.
It's up to Grant. It's up to Grant.
It is Double Dragon, yeah. It is.
Yeah, it is.
I want to see what the chat says about that. I think I definitely said. Yeah, see that AJ, unofficial adjudicator, he sided with me. Look, you've already won. Don't be bitter. All right, next up.
So the next fake name is First Name Traveler versus the Planet. I'll repeat that. First Name Traveler versus the Planet.
Man, first name is so. Are these hyphenated words or are they?
First name is hyphenated.
Right. Okay. First name, the Traveller versus the Planet. Man.
Nick. Scott Pilgrim versus the world.
That's correct.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
Well played.
So the next fake name, I think this one's a bit easy, but
I'll probably get this then.
Is the Combatants.
It's like the Combatants.
Nick.
The Fighters?
That's not what I'm looking for.
Wow. Oh man, a beat 'em up. The Combatants.
Yeah.
The Contestants.
Do you want a clue?
Yeah, go on. Is that like the Claw?
Trying to see if I've got anything.
I think AJ's teasing us in the chat. Come out to play.
He is, yeah.
Hold on. Are you looking at the chat?
Yeah, we can see it. It's here. No one's given any answers, by the way.
Mate.
Dude, we're in StreamYard.
Yeah, I'm in private chat and I'm looking at the ticker and stuff. I'm not looking at the chat. Oh, look at that. What a cheat. What a cheat. Absolute cheat.
Any clues? Oh, there you go. It's already been given away by the chat now.
Yeah.
They've finally given their first
I don't know.
answer.
I'm not looking at the chat, so I don't know.
It's the Warriors. How did we not get that?
Oh, yeah, the Warriors. Okay, that makes sense. Next.
Okay. So the next one is this one might be a bit hard. Tussle Ray Parkin X-Men.
Tussle Ray Parkin X-Men. What?
Tussle Ray Parking. Parking is in parking a car.
Parkin as in Parkinson?
Oh, okay, Parkin.
Parkin, yes.
Man, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Pass.
Yeah.
So the answer we were looking for was Battletoads.
What?
What?
No idea.
Oh, okay. Jesse's in the chat and he says Ray Park in X-Men.
It's because the I isn't capitalized.
Yes. Ray Park in X-Men.
How did we not get Battletoads? We should have. We've let you down, Grant. We should be ashamed. We hang our heads in shame.
You've got one more to
Okay.
Tussle, Battle, Ray Park in X-Men, Toad.
Yeah. Dope.
So the last one,
Still looking at the chat.
is Citadel Smashers.
Nick.
Yes,
Castle Crashers.
that is correct.
Awesome. Well, as we said, Nick is the resident beat 'em up fan, and he showed that in great form.
Yeah.
This week. Thank you, Grant, for being an excellent Name a Game host.
Host. Yes.
And yeah, Hugh, congrats. Reach out to Jesse, who will provide a list of games, and you can pick whatever you fancy from that list. A lot of our patrons are like, "Oh, cool! I'll have insert latest expensive AAA release here." But it's not how this works, people. All right, we have the list. You pick from the list. So you don't just.
We have a curated list.
All right. Appreciate that. Right. So let's wrap things up because we've got about 20 minutes. We haven't got too many. So one of the other perks that we give our patrons, Grant, is every week they get to annoy Nick and I with sometimes it's a statement, sometimes it's a question, but I think there's a few.
Don't annoy us.
I winked. I literally winked. It's said in jest because that's the joke now that I don't love our patrons, which I do because our patrons are awesome. And if you want to become one of those awesome legends, head to patreon.com/XboxEra and pledge your support.
Yes.
Because tiny little publications like ours, do you know we've reviewed 600 games now? Over 600 games?
I did most of those.
You are a lying piece of shit. The man who's not here did most of those, and his name is Jesse. But he's a video game playing machine. But yes, it's community questions time. So our wonderful patrons have sent through, I think we got 10 this week, and some of them are directed at you. Some of them are a bit more general. But let's dive in and see what they've got to say.
Cool.
Okay, community questions. Now, should I... Hold on. What I'm going to do is...
You're going to try and show these?
Yeah. It's part of my producing...
Your producing hat.
As part of
I believe in you, bro. I believe in you. I think you can do this.
I'm going to try. Okay. All right. Should I... Okay, I'll hide that stuff. Okay. 10K. First question. Hello, gents. What's your favorite console design for both Xbox and non-Xbox consoles? I've always liked the more traditional and boring looking consoles. For me, my favorite console design was the GameCube. There was something special about that thing being a literal cube that played games, was powerful, was top-loading, always preferred my old-school consoles to be top-loaded versus inserting the game from the front, and its default color was purple. And by the way, purple is the greatest color. For Xbox, the One X, One S were my favorite style. Just a nice slim rectangular box that wasn't too high, too deep, or too wide. Special shout out to the PS1 as well. What a beaut.
Cool.
I like this
Grant,
question.
we'll let you tackle this one first. Favorite console design for both Xbox and non-Xbox consoles?
The limited edition Mountain Dew Xbox.
Great choice.
I didn't know that existed.
Yeah.
I think it's a very fluorescent green, right?
Yes, it's very fluorescent. And for a non... I believe it's called the SNES Junior. And it was a really diddy SNES console that they made. I'm pretty sure it was outside of Japan as well, but it's like really neat and it's really tiny. That and obviously the Game Boy Atomic Purple.
Nice choice. Yeah. Going with that purple vibe.
Yeah, purple's such a good color. Geez, that's because there's so many options with Xbox. Because they did so many limited edition consoles. Like, if I had to settle on just one, it has to be the Gears 5 1X.
Yeah, that was
the
laser etching one.
Stunning. I've sold mine since, and a part of me wishes I hadn't. But that is an absolutely beautiful console, the Gears 5 1X. Non-Xbox. Oh boy. Again, so many options. Like, there was some really nice limited edition PS4s, PS3s, PS2s. What would I pick?
You can do this.
Non-Xbox. I think I will settle on, I don't know, one of the many limited edition slim PS3s. I don't know if I can just pick one. There was a really nice design, the slim PS3. And there was a couple of really nice limited editions. I can't think of the Final Fantasy 13 one was nice. And there was a couple of others, but that was a really nice looking console.
For me, it's got to be, and this might be blasphemy, but I was one of the suckers that bought the faceplates, a few of the faceplates for the 360, and I have a special place in my heart for the 360 OG first gen white 360 with the wood paneled with the red stripe faceplate.
Yeah.
Like I had like a wood unit back then, and it just looks very. I was like, oh, look how cool this is. But if I had to go non-Xbox, it would be. And I hate to say this because who wants to agree with 10K? GameCube, man. GameCube was legit.
It was.
It looked cool. Like anytime I saw it, I was like, "This is a very neat looking console."
It was. The platinum one was good. I had the platinum one as well. That was and I had a Metroid, the actual official limited edition Metroid faceplate for it too.
Did you ever see the? Here I am talking about Japanese exclusive stuff. Did you ever see the Neon Genesis Evangelion GameCube?
No.
It's like this sick red color.
Oh.
Awesome.
I think it was.
Did they change the faceplate?
I'm pretty sure they did. Yeah.
Because you could just pop that faceplate out. So I took my original one out and put that Metroid one in, and it was stunning. It was so good. So nice. I took photos before I sold it, luckily.
I've tried to Google an image of that, and it won't even bring one up on.
Really?
I've got a pad for it, which is kind of like a red and orange color.
Try Bing. Maybe Bing will have it.
Yeah, because we all know Bing's great for
Copilot. Use Microsoft trademark Copilot.
I'll just get Microsoft AI to generate me a Neon Genesis. Can you imagine the monstrosity that would be generated?
Oh wait. I might have my references. Yeah, I did. It was Gundam. It wasn't Neon Genesis.
Oh, okay.
It's Gundam. Okay.
Gundam, yeah.
That would explain John's difficulty in locating it.
Yeah, okay, now I have lots of...
Should have said nothing and just let you keep looking.
Yeah, just like forever, like, where is this thing?
Where is
he
it?
making it up? Nice choice.
Gundam.
Nice choice.
Ooh, look at that. Yeah, I'm just having a look at that now. Holy shit. That's nice.
Very vibrant.
Yeah. Should I try showing it?
As long as you've got that browser open, you should be able to just drop the tab and it will replace what you're browsing on the forum.
Yeah. I want to try and find it. Hold on. I'll open image in new tab. And I'll try sharing that. Let's have a look. Look at that. Oh boy. How nice is that?
Pretty.
It is.
Very
That's
pretty.
really nice. Okay. I like that question.
Yeah. Good question.
Okay. Next question. Jesse Brother. So no Jesse, but have no fear, Senor Clark and Senorita Baker. Why am I Senorita? You've still got one Norris boy, in the chat at least. And I do actually have a question this week. If you could steal any game from Nintendo, Sony, or PC and put it on Xbox, which would it be and why? Super Mario Odyssey. Because it is one of the greatest games ever made.
Okay, bro. Just nod and smile, Grant. You don't have to agree with him. Just okay, Nick. And then
What
you
do
just
you
move on
mean?
with your life. You try and put it out of your head. You know exactly what we mean. I'm not getting dragged into this with you again.
I'm sure Grant likes Super Mario Odyssey.
I do. It is a very good game.
Yes.
Greatest game of all time? Is it?
I didn't say it's the greatest game of all time. I said it's one of the greatest games ever made.
Still a stretch, bro.
No,
I actually have an easy answer to this week. For me, and I'm suffering today, and we were talking about it before we went live. I made a bad adult decision yesterday. Covering video games is often difficult because you don't get to actually, and we were talking about like live service games, you don't get the time to do live service stuff a lot of the time, unless you're Nick, who just lives on Rocket League and Fortnite predominantly.
And now Balatro.
And now Balatro. I bought Helldivers 2 on PC and jumped in with my usual co-op crew, the people I play Sea of Thieves with and stuff like that. And the FOMO got me and they kept starting missions. And before I knew it, it was 3 a.m. So I went up to bed and my kids decided to wake up at 6:30. So I am rocking 3 hours sleep today. I'm not feeling my best. But I had a really good time. And I've got to say, if you haven't heard the theme tune for Helldivers 2, that absolutely slaps. Like it is so Starship Troopers. It is so cheesy and unabashedly American-y, patriotic-y awfulness, but you can't help but laugh at it. And it just makes you feel like a badass every time you drop in. Really great and surprisingly Xboxing feeling multiplayer game that I'm having a really good time with. So yeah, would recommend if you haven't got a PlayStation, pick it up on PC. There you go. That's my answer. What about you, Grant? If you could steal a game and put it on Xbox,
it would probably be. I'm gonna go out
Disney
there.
Illusion Island.
smart answer.
It would probably be one of the Pokemon games, I think.
Oh yeah.
And I'm gonna go left field here. I'm gonna say the Pokemon trading card game.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah. Because I don't think that's ever outside of PC. They've never really done the trading card game on console. So I think obviously there was the Game Boy Color one, and there was and here I go again, the exclusive sequel to that only in Japan. But if we could get those, because I really like playing like the Yu-Gi-Oh games on console, so I think it'd be quite good to get an actual Pokemon game on there.
Yeah. Good answer.
Yeah. Interesting. Hey, Lucius in the chat has a good one. Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. Oh, yes. That's good game. Great answer for Xbox. Okay. I like these questions. Skedaddle. Warm welcome, Grant. With the exciting news that Ryan Reynolds and his company Maximum Effort are co-producing a reboot of the animated series Biker Mice from Mars, surely a video game will also be needed. Dlala Studios would be a perfect choice for a Biker Mice from Mars video game. Grant, as lead designer, how would you envision this game?
Quick, get a napkin out, jot down some game design ideas.
I want full details, gameplay mechanics, storyboards, all of it now.
Cool. So, interesting fact about my desk at work, I actually have Modo, Throttle, and Vinny figures for the original 90s figures. They're out of box, but they're on my desk at work. So I am a big fan of Biker Mice from Mars, and I probably think what I would do is I would potentially do a mix of side-scrolling beat 'em up with probably gunplay of what is? Oh my god, I'm hitting a blank. The game, not Full Metal Alchemist, Full.
Slug,
Full Throttle. Not
Metal
Full Throttle. Oh, I was going to say Full Throttle.
So, oh no. Well, it would be side-scrolling beat 'em up with like gun mechanics from Metal Slug, and then have similar kind of racing sections to the original Road Rash.
Nice, good choice.
Yeah.
So you could do like the driving the bikes in between locations on a map, or have it open world, and then you could maybe go third person with the combat side of stuff. So I always think of, whenever I think of Biker Mice from Mars, I think of like the old school. Do you remember Small Soldiers?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, or maybe there'd be some cool stuff we could do where maybe instead of doing it in the universe, we do it as if you're playing as the figures of the characters. So that way you can have a bit more of a license to kind of, it doesn't have to be an alien world. You could be the figures in the real world, and then there'd be some cool stuff.
I love it. Dalala's third game confirmed.
There you go.
It's happening. Release target in 2026, exclusive here, right here.
Battletoads.
Although, I mean, I'm all for Battle Mice, Biker Mice from Mars. I'm all for them. But personally, hand on heart, it's Bucky O'Hare. All right? I'm sorry. No. Bucky O'Hare was awesome. Don't judge me.
What about Street Sharks?
Oh, Street Sharks.
Street Sharks,
really? Yeah. You know, I was about to say, you don't know Street Sharks. I
know Street Sharks. Before we know it, we're going to start talking about Rude Dog and the Dweebs.
Oh, yeah.
If I'm taking my pick of a game like this for Dlala to do that's in the vein of Battletoads, I'm probably picking either Silverhawks or Thundercats.
Oh, OG Thundercats.
Oh, yeah. The new cartoon was good too.
Wait. The new cartoon or the new cartoon?
No.
Like the anime style cartoon?
middle
that
new.
was pretty cool. It was pretty cool.
That was very cool.
But what if we did? So here's a old one. What about Sharky and George?
Sharky and George.
Is that a UK one?
Busters of the sea. Yeah, must be. But it was awesome.
I don't know that one.
You could have detective mechanics.
Samurai Pizza Cats.
Oh yeah, Samurai Pizza Cats would be great as a scrolling beat 'em up. That'd be really good.
Kids nowadays are missing out.
I know, man. Oh, their cartoons are pretty good. Their cartoons are still pretty good. But there's just some stuff that they don't get now because the wackiness isn't there.
Lads, I hate to say it, I feel like we're showing our age a bit here.
Yeah.
Just saying. Good answer though, Grant. I'm looking forward to playing it.
Look who it is. None other than the developer that's going to help you guys out with rock and roll racing. There he is, nrXic, who made Omega Rally Championship. Hello, esteemed gentlemen. I have to say that I adored the Saturday morning cartoon presentation of Battletoads. With humour being quite subjective, much of it landed for me. Loved that concept and approach to this classic IP. With that in mind, what will it take for Microsoft to consider an actual cartoon based on this game's established look and style of humour? Something else for Paramount Plus to stream alongside Halo, or Prime to stream alongside Fallout, perhaps? Yeah, why not do what they did with Ratchet and Clank and just take the cutscenes out of Battletoads and make a cartoon out of it? That's basically what the Ratchet and Clank movie was.
So I would say, if you want it, tweet Microsoft.
Okay.
That's what I'd say. Just hound them with tweets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a fair point.
And AJ, if you're watching, mate, I know you're still there. There
Always
you go.
watching.
There's your driving mechanics guy for rock and roll racing.
Let it go, man. It's not coming back.
Never.
Not coming back.
Never. Okay. Okay, Hugh. This is Hugh. He lives nearby. Howdy all and welcome, Grant. Grant, I can tell from the fantastic games that your studio creates that there is a great passion for co-op and multiplayer play. Is there any underlying ethos for this in the studio, or is it just a coincidence? Also, as someone who has been interested in making the jump to game development for a long time, I've done all sorts of programming in my career, do you find working in the industry has somewhat extinguished your passion for gaming as a hobby? I have heard this from other game devs, and it's the only thing putting me off making the jump. P.S. I feel ashamed that I didn't know your studio HQ in Hytham is so close to my home, just a 10-minute drive.
Oh, cool. Yes, it is an ethos. Something I mentioned earlier is the whole concept of awesome alone, better together. And it's something that we do as a studio stick to, and we like the idea of games as being something that can be enjoyed together. I think, like, personally, I'm one of 4, so I have 3 older brothers, and some of my favorite memories that I have with like my older brothers is either watching them play games and being involved verbally with them playing games, or actually sitting and playing them with them. So like, it's something which is super important to myself and also to the studio. And we want to be able to create games that you can create memories with when you play them with people. And games are always better when they're kind of shared, I think. There was
Did you fight with your brothers though? Did you fight with your brothers too?
Yeah. Oh mate, I was the littlest. I got it the worst.
Man, the punch-ons mean, like, we had this thing where, because we used to get very violent, we said, all right, well, we've got to stop getting physically violent with each other over video games. But we used to like really egg each other on, and we had this thing where if we got angry, we'd have to say no physical, as in no physical involvement. But what we started to do was we started to really piss each other off and like stick each other's fingers like right near our faces like this. Going,
not
no
touching.
Physical, no not physical, touching. Not touching. Oh God, it used to piss us off even more.
Man, I had a younger brother. My older brother wasn't into games. My younger brother was, and we used to have 2 Xboxes. We used to system link Halo, and it would be his mates, and they would have been 14, 15. It was my mates like 16, 17, and it would be 4v4 across just a cable between the two bedrooms, right? And it was pretty competitive, but it used to get quite verbal and occasionally violent between me and my bro. But there was one time, and I laugh about it now because he came out of it okay. But this absolutely massive guy, one of his mates, who was like a rugby player, he had an epileptic fit, and my brother was just screaming like John, something like we were all mid game. And I went in there, and this massive dude, he was like, I'm only short, I'm only 5'7". This guy's like 6'5", and he's having an epileptic fit on the floor. And I'm like, okay, everyone out of the way, right? Calling out all of this sort of stuff. And then after he was all sorted and he was all fine, everything was fine. I was like, mate, we kicked your ass so hard. One of your guys had an epileptic fit. That's
oh my god.
Like the banter just would not stop. Like, yeah, it was very silly, but fun memories nonetheless. Jesus.
Now, the second part of the question was: has working in the game industry diminished or extinguished your passion for gaming as a hobby?
Oh, really good question. No, I don't think it has. It hasn't extinguished it. I think if anything, it's made what I enjoy. I'm a hell of a lot more passionate about it, and I feel like it's more niche since I've started in the games industry. I feel like, we spoke about earlier that it was kind of like, you finding games that respect your time, but then equally, I feel like in general, I would play like all types of games really before I started in the industry. And it's really interesting because when it comes to like researching for games and stuff like that, like I always find like like I said, with most of the stuff, we've never made that type of genre when we start making it. And it's interesting because I'll go into research stuff and I'll end up going down this kind of spiral into, different things. For example, like if you look at a game like Wild Frost, the like card roguelike, I don't think fair few years ago, I don't think I would have ever even looked at that. And then all of a sudden I get introduced to it and I'm sucked into it, and like I can spend hours playing it. But yeah, the passion hasn't gone. I still have the passion. I just feel like I kind of know what I like more now, and I only go for that.
It makes perfect sense, man. Like I've had the fortuitous past to work with Microsoft on Halo, right? So I've done some like level design stuff for Forge, and I helped do the beta and things. And one thing I quickly learned through lots of alpha testing of that part of the application was it answered the question for me: do I ever want to be in game development? Like, I love level design, but do I ever want to be on this side of the fence? And for me, it took the magic out of it a little bit. Like, there's something magical about getting that finish, all of those hours and blood, sweat and tears that have gone into making this for me. I get to experience it now, like seeing it all in its unfinished state and its bugs and its glitches and all of those sort of things that are part of game dev. It took the shine off of that romanticism of the being a game dev for me.
Yeah.
So I was like,
you're seeing how the sausage is made.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah,
it's like, I prefer to be on this side. Like, I like playing the finished product and experiencing someone else's intentional design and the rules that they've set out and pushing against them and all that sort of thing. But it's an interesting one, yeah. Like talking about it refining your passion. I think that's also something that comes with age, right? Like,
yeah.
I'm like, I ain't playing that. I'm not even going to look at it.
I know what I like, and that's what I'm going to do.
FOMO doesn't get me no more.
That's good. That's a good question.
They're good questions this week. I love it when we have game developers on because we get really interesting questions from the community. So it's always good.
Yeah. Hytham G. Happy belated early St. Patrick's Day. Happy belated early. Well, it's always belated when it's early, isn't it?
I guess so.
Happy belated early St. Patrick's Day to the Irish and non-Irish of this channel. Drink some green soft beverages and eat some corned beef and cabbage with a potato and wear green or you get pinched. But here's the video game characters down below that relate to the color green. And yes, there's a lot of them.
Oh.
Yeah.
There are a lot of some angry
It's a
birds in
celebration
there.
of being green and
Team Green.
happy St. Patrick's Day. What's the date today?
I have no idea.
Yeah, well, it's St. Patrick's Day for me today. It's the 17th here.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So it's a day early for you guys, but it's St. Patrick's Day for
So
me.
he was technically correct, which is the best kind of correct.
I just don't drink. That's
yeah. I just to pause and interject just before the next question. Hugh, who asked the last question about game design, he has just popped up in the chat. He said, "That's great. It sounds like it made you develop a wider interest. Thanks for taking the time to answer. Maybe I'll bump into you one day in Hytham."
That's where all the cool kids hang out in Hytham.
Absolutely.
Okay. LazarWolf. New patron. I don't know if I should say it as a LazarWolf, but I like the sound of LazarWolf better. LazarWolf sounds cooler.
Isn't that from?
It's from Battletoads.
No, yeah. No, there's a. What film is it? It's a Guardians of the Galaxy thing. You know, and Rocket Raccoon's like, "You've chosen LazarWolf" or something like that.
Maybe.
Isn't that the name?
I don't know.
Someone keep me honest in the chat. Come on. But anyway, sorry.
Okay.
I interjected. Carry on.
Yep. Hey guys. Much like Nick wishes there was a skip cutscenes button in every game, I wish every podcast came with a skip Nick button. Just kidding, you're a tier 1 leaker to me, Nick.
Wow. That's pleased him.
Yes. Skip Nick button, mate. It's the worst thing you could ever do. Okay. Morventhus. Hello all. As usual, pick one or both. Favorite way to cite work? Do you prefer MLA, IEEE standard, or another? What the hell is he talking about? What does that mean?
So if you're referencing something in research, I've seen IEE standard, but I think he's talking about referencing work in research or on a paper or something like that. So you're citing someone else's work as per paper this. But yeah, sorry, Morventhus did not go to university.
I couldn't pick a favorite because I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Sorry. Or favorite level in the Battletoads reboot and why? Oh boy. Favorite level. Is it? I don't know if it's called a junkyard, but is it the one that's like kind of in a junkyard?
The one where you start in like the swampy bit.
Maybe.
Not to the Queen. The Carnival, I think that's called.
I'm trying to remember which one it is. It's one of the earlier ones. It is one of the earlier ones. It's not deep into the game.
Yeah, I think it's
one of the earlier levels.
Just after the hover bikes, I think.
It's probably that one. Or the first level. I always love intro levels to scrolling beat 'em ups. I don't know why. I just always love first levels.
I was going to say the first level because I like the end cutscene where they start flying and screaming, "We are gods."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've still got the fondness for the bike scene for me. Like, always. I know there's multiple of them, but just that first one is like, oh.
Nah, I've always been... I always find that in pretty much every scrolling beat 'em up, it's like... I don't know how to explain it. It's not like all the love and care and everything goes into that first level, but the first level of a scrolling beat 'em up always has to grab you. Ultimately, it does, because that's your introduction to the game. So it's got to grab you, because you're going to be repeating those mechanics a lot over the next however many hours that the game goes for. So that first level has to be like spot on. If you don't get that first level right, you're in a bit of trouble. If you think of Streets of Rage 2, everyone remembers that first level and that Go Straight, the song.
Yeah.
Like, everyone remembers that in Streets of Rage 2. Like, it's just borderline iconic. So first levels always have to be great. And that's why I said either that... I can't remember what that level was, but the first level in Battletoads is also very good. I like it.
There's a bonus question for Grant.
Yes, there is a bonus question.
The bike level is always going to be my favourite.
If Season 2 of Battletoads is ever greenlit, what would you like most to add?
Ooh.
You kind of answered this earlier. You were talking about if we could go back now, we in hindsight we'd probably lean more into the beat 'em up. Is that? I don't know if that is still the same answer, like because that's not really adding anything. That's refining what you had. I guess.
No, it's not adding.
Yeah, I think probably what I'd like to do is there's something that we had in pre-production on the hoverbike levels, which was enemies that would come up either side of you on the track. And there was kind of like these road rash mechanics where you'd have to like ram into them to get rid of them, else they'd ram into you, kind of thing. So I'd like to do maybe like a road rash thing. I would like to do a rip off a Super Monkey Ball somewhere in there. And then, what was that?
What about a roguelike deck builder?
Yeah, that would. I'd be. The thing is, I'm just going to say all types of games that I'd like to build now. So, like, I really like. So, one of the ideas that never got into the game, but was part of pre-production, was a. It was a dating sim quiz. And essentially, you'd be on like a blind date kind of dating show. And you'd ask the shadowed contestants different questions, and they'd give you different answers. And depending on what one you picked, so who you picked at the end, it would be the boss battle. It would be who you faced. You could kind of gauge what kind of fight you was going to have by their answers to the questions that you were asking them.
Wow!
But that never went through, but I'd like to do that. We called it Blind Date Boss Battle, was the pre-production name for it. But yeah,
like that.
I'd like to go back to that because one of the options that you could get after all the answers was it would cut to this cutscene where there's this huge coliseum and all the crowd are screaming at you and you're in the middle and it's all like Gladiator, it's tense, and then all of a sudden they lift the curtain and it's just a baby kitten with a bow on it in the middle of this arena. But yeah, that's something I'd like to do. I've ruined the joke now, so it will never go in. But
actually, Trav in the chat had a good name for the Road Rash game or mechanic. Rash.
Yeah.
Call it Rash instead of Road Rash. That's a good one.
I like that.
Okay. This is a long one. Maybe I need to zoom out a little bit for this one because it's a long question. Okay. Here we go. Good old Collingwood. Collingwood did not do well. There's a member chat about this later. Haven't started the new season well at all. Good old Collingwood. Hello, John and Nick, and welcome, Grant. So every year, the World Video Game Hall of Fame inducts 3 or 4 games into its list of historic video games that shaped and changed gaming history. Microsoft and Xbox games included in this list are Halo Combat Evolved, Microsoft Flight Sim, Microsoft Solitaire, and Minecraft. The public get to nominate and vote for their deserving titles. This year, the 12 nominees are Asteroids, Elite, Guitar Hero, Metroid, Myst, Neopets, Resident Evil, SimCity, Tokimeki Memorial, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, Ultima, and You Don't Know Jack. Which 3 games do you think deserve to be in the World Video Game Hall of Fame? Oh, boy.
That's a list, man.
Out of that list, Resident Evil, Metroid, and you kind of have to say Asteroids. Like, I want to say Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, but you kind of have to say Asteroids. You have to. Actually, maybe get rid of Resident Evil and go Metroid, Asteroids, and oh god, see SimCity as well.
Elite, Guitar Hero, and Ultima.
Really?
Yeah.
So I think Guitar Hero needs to go in because of what they did for kind of controllers.
Yeah, they pioneered that.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I know it sounds really weird, and it probably doesn't, but there's almost part of me which thinks like creating the controllers like that. I wonder if it then opened up kind of the minds of people when they're looking at accessibility and the functionality of controllers and how they can be used.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I wonder if that had something maybe to do with that. And then Tony Hawk's is banging.
I know Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, man.
It's interesting. Was it Tokimeki Memorial?
Tokimeki Memorial.
That's strange. That's in there. That's quite a new.
Is it?
Wait, am I thinking of? No, I'm thinking of Literature Club, aren't I? Doki Literature.
I'm gonna look this up.
Wait, is Tokimeki Memorial the dating simulators?
It's the visual novel. It says here in brackets.
Interesting fact. I actually own a couple of those. so I watched.
It's old. Tokimeki Memorial is from '94.
Yeah, have you ever watched Action Button, the YouTuber?
No.
He does I think it's a 14-hour deep dive into that game because it's like, yeah, it's got the most ridiculous kind of system that runs in the back of it. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking about it. I'm on the tangent. But
they're on Nintendo Switch. Tokimeki Memorial, there's a bunch of them on the Switch at the moment, the newest versions of the games. But the original was on like PlayStation, Saturn, Super Nintendo. Wow.
Yeah, it's got that. That's interesting. Oh, I'm gonna have. I'm just Asteroids, Tony Hawk, Guitar Hero. That's it.
It's tough, isn't it? Asteroids kind of has to be like you can't not have Asteroids in there. And I guess Metroid. It started Metroidvanias.
Yeah,
tricky.
Yeah, and I'm going to set
a good
on
list.
Resident Evil. It is.
It is a good list. Yeah,
it is.
Wow.
Okay,
that's it.
That was the last question.
It's the end of the show.
Not
too bad. 2 hours 20 minutes.
Yeah, we did all right.
Grant, we've got to say a big thank you for sticking around and providing so much insight and interesting anecdotes into game development.
No, it's been really enjoyable. It's been good to chat.
We love doing it, especially with game developers, because I think often, frankly, you guys are the unsung heroes. You know, everyone's sitting there arguing about business suits and executives and massive publishers. You guys are the ones making video games, and thanks for your work, because it's a really cool hobby to have.
Yep. I will say there's a Torn Raptor has a member chat and a super chat. So he had a member chat like a day ago. It was before we even started the show. So he said, Pies unfortunately were a bit cold on Friday. Not an ideal start to the Premiership defence and a poor showing on the night. They unveil the flag. And then he's got a couple of swan emojis because we played the Sydney Swans. And then he said, don't take it too hard, Nick. It's still very early in the season. Don't give up, bud. Yeah, like as those who watch us know, Collingwood won the Premiership last year, but we have started this season horribly. We've lost our first 2 games badly. Like we look terrible at the moment.
This is AFL, by the way, Grant.
This is Australian rules football, yeah.
Oh, okay. Is that like rugby, or is that football?
It's Australian rules football, so it's more Gaelic. Think Gaelic football.
Okay. Cool.
It's more like Gaelic. In fact, we actually usually, most years, we play an international rules series against the Irish. We have a series with them where our best AFL players play against the best Gaelic players, and we have like a best of 3, something like that. So it's more like Gaelic football. But yeah, we're not doing well.
So it's a regular topic of conversation for poor old Nick. So there you go. But I have to say, as well as a big thank you to Grant and obviously the whole team at Dalala for unleashing him upon the show. I've got to give hands off props to Special Nick for producing the podcast. I think he did okay, folks. There are a few wibbles at the beginning there, but overall, I think he's come through in flying colours.
We did okay.
We'll be back next week as per usual on Saturday, with Jesse returning, I think, from the fold. Until then, until next time, Grant, do you want to sign us out? Where can people find you? Where can people find Dlala on Twitter? You know, I'm hoping you can just reel this off, but go for it.
So you can find me on Twitter. My handle is @GrantTheHuman. Dlala Studios is @Dlala Studios, and we also have a website which is www.dlalastudios.com.
Cool.
Thanks heaps for making the time for us, Grant.
No worries at all. It's been great.
And AJ, if you're still in the chat,
he is.
AJ. Rock and roll racing. No. Rock and roll racing, mate.
Let it go, bro.
I'll put you in touch with Phil. I know him. It's all right. I'll put you in touch with him.
All right, and on that note, chat, thank you for being legends, being respectful, asking great questions, and having a genuinely pleasant time in the conversations today. We'll see you next week. Until then, Nick.
Oh yeah, hold on.
This is when you say ciao for now. You can do this,
but where's the video? Where's the video?
I don't know.
Okay. Ciao for now.